Welcome, everybody, to the third part of our amazing evening. It is the classic movie discussion of the week here at the No Name Cinema Society, our 15th classic movie discussion. And this week we're going to talk about 1971 Don Siegel film Dirty Harry, one of the a film that was very controversial in its time, and I'm very excited to be joined by two very nice punks who will be with us this evening, starting with Jay Money. And I'm gonna introduce the next guy as soon as he gets his title on title on his page there.
Yeah,
Jay Money, do you want to say something to give him time to do that?
It's another lovely night here in the city. So close to you, JB. So close.
4.2 miles away.
4.2 miles away.
Is this the closest we've been?
No, we've been much closer than this, and I think I know.
Is Sunset Park closer?
Oh, that's true. Maybe. I think that we've shared many things before, including proximity.
Now you're getting personal.
Are we sharing a burnout?
There he is. Davey Joe is back. Not even drunk tonight.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
He was so busy playing around with his comments, this comment section, that he forgot his own title. Anyway, many of you have seen Dirty Harry, so you probably are aware that in the film, Officer Harry Callahan has his own brand of justice, as the trailer might say. He takes the law into his own hands to make sure the criminals get punished properly, gets tired of how they get away in the legal system, so to speak. And his brand of justice comes in handy when San Francisco is faced with finding one of the worst serial killers it had in its history, and in this case, based on the real-life Zodiac killer. So that's our film for the evening. Now, some of you who have been watching on our Facebook page, I see you're squinting there, David. J Money, you okay?
That's
now you're crossing your eyes. What's happening?
I'm squinting just in general. I'm fine. I just have to adjust my rating system, my secret rating system.
Oh, right. You forgot to do stuff too, huh? You're struggling. You falling behind.
That's what happens.
Too much. See, you are drunk, so that's at least you've got an excuse. So we did have a trivia question on the Facebook page. Davey Joe, do you remember what the trivia question was?
Nope.
Remind me not to throw it to you anymore. Jay Money, do you remember what the trivia question was?
Sort of. I mean, I remember that there's a connection between...
oh, forget it. I'll just say it.
All right, just say it.
The trivia question is the filmmakers of Dirty Harry were... It was the fourth of five or fifth of six collaborations between them, and in one of those collaborations, they switched roles, and the actor became the director, and vice versa. And that film was Play Misty for Me, in which Clint Eastwood was his directorial debut, and obviously he's a two-time Academy Award-winning director since then. But Play Misty for Me in 1971 was his directorial debut, and Don Siegel, the director of Dirty Harry, and four other Clint Eastwood films, had a supporting part in Play Misty for Me, and both films came out in the same year. And I want to shout out to Rob Katecki, who one of our fans and viewers who got the question right on Facebook. So congratulations to Rob. Jay Money, you had something you wanted to say to Rob.
Yeah, Rob, you are a smarty pants. Congratulations. We'll send you a tote bag and a mug shortly.
Wow. Davey Joe, are you fascinated by that piece of trivia?
Yes, I am. It's great. Good stuff.
I can tell. I can feel it. I can feel it in your bones. So Dirty Harry is a film that we screened in Los Angeles in June, early June, and it was a very interesting discussion afterwards. Before we get into sharing what the group thought, let's see what these guys had to say. Davey Joe, you're up first. Is this your first time seeing the film?
Oh, no. Many times. And it's a movie I really like. I don't know how good it is, but I really like it. So there's that.
I'm hesitant to ask, but can you expand upon that concept?
Yeah, it's a style movie, and I think it's a cool performance by Clint Eastwood. But I don't know how great it is. The story is kind of cliched, but in historical context, I'm not really sure how that works. Was it ahead of its time?
It wasn't cliched at the time. If you're talking about the tough guy rogue cop.
Well, no, yeah, there's other cliches about criminals and about you know, the criminal justice system and you know, getting off on technicalities and stuff like that. I don't know. It's I sometimes I'm
Well, what we'll get
just
into
that
a little later is the film was very. It was a much discussed film, a polarizing film in 1971. So and very controversial, which my group that watched it was a little surprised by. But J Money, it's not your first time either, I assume.
It's not my first time either, but the last time I saw it, I was much younger. I was probably in my teens, and I remember watching it at the time, being very surprised by what it actually ended up being, because it wasn't what I expected at the time. I expected, I think, a much more sort of action-y action movie. I think I expected something that was a lot more in line with what I pictured his character to be at the time, because, you know, Dirty Harry as a character was iconic even before I saw the movie. I had sort of an idea of what Dirty Harry was supposed to be like. So I remember watching the actual movie being kind of taken aback about how different and actually how weird it was. And that's something that I think I appreciated more this time around as well. It's something that I think I could kind of grow into and settle into a lot more now than I did, you know, 15 years ago.
Yes. Now, it's funny because I remember liking it the first time I saw it as a youth. And I saw it again in 2004 at Film Forum here in New York as part of a Don Siegel retrospective that they had going on. I went to see a bunch of Don Siegel films, and Dirty Harry was the closing film of them all. And the rest of them were so good. I was so excited to see Dirty Harry again, and it was a big letdown at this screening. And I still think Dirty Harry is among the least of the Don Siegel films, although easily his most famous film, if you don't count the original 1956 Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is, you know, like sort of a B movie and not exactly like, doesn't have a Siegel touch like these 60s and 70s films do. But in rewatching it, I liked it a little bit more. And similarly, I feel like the group had a same reaction, like high expectations. They thought it was really cool, and it didn't really have the impact that I think they wanted it to. I mean, people thought it was interesting, but not great. Like David Joe was saying. David Joe, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
You seem frozen. Let's try it again.
I can hear him. Are you there?
There he is. There he is.
I'm here.
Okay.
No, I'm getting his black thing. Okay.
No, I can see him.
Okay, he's freezing a little bit, but regardless, so that was my personal thing. The group felt mixed. They thought it was compelling, but not special. That's sort of like, I'm summarizing what the group was saying. Is that sort of like echo what you guys were getting at?
Yeah.
Well, for me specifically, no, not necessarily that. I think when I was younger, for instance, I was expecting it to be a lot more maybe violent than it was, just because that's what I think I'd been led to believe. And I think what I was taken aback back then was about it felt actually more pensive, and that's what I like more about it now. Like I had a better reaction to it the second viewing recently than I did before, and it certainly upgraded my opinion of the movie in general, which is why it's kind of a little bit better here. I thought I actually really quite enjoyed the movie a fair amount. I don't know if I would say it's special necessarily, except that it is special in a very kind of pop cultural sense. It's very iconic. It is sort of a standard for a lot of different things, not just debates about police brutality, but also just the idea of this kind of character, which has become so seminal in so many movies over the last 40 years. So, in a lot of ways, I guess I feel like it's a very important movie, regardless of how well it holds up over the last over the amount of time that it's been around.
Well, and in fairness, my image of it is colored by the rest of these Don Siegel films that I think are even better, and I'll just name a few. The ones that they made with Clint Eastwood were Coogan's Bluff was the first one, followed by Two Mules for Sister Sarah, followed by The Beguiled, followed by this, followed by Escape from Alcatraz.
Okay.
Coogan's Bluff and Escape from Alcatraz are a lot stronger. Other films that he made without Clint Eastwood include Madigan and Clint Eastwood's last film, The Shootist, and also my favorite Don Siegel film is a film called Charlie Varick, which stars Walter Matthau as a character that you could see being played by Clint Eastwood. But we know from the Fortune Cookie, we know how much we love Walter Matthau in this room.
Yeah.
So imagine Walter Matthau as a Clint Eastwood type tough guy who's like smarter than the average guy. He's actually like he's a thief. He's a bank robber. plays a bank robber who's a little bit smarter than he should be, and it's a fun, smart, edgy film. So getting back to some of the things that were talked about in our screening, one thing that was remarked on a lot, I said The Shootist.
Yeah, you said it was Eastwood's last movie.
Did I say Eastwood? Oh, I meant John Wayne. That was really done. Thank you. Look at that. We're using our comments and everything. J Money. Sorry, you distracted me with that. They remarked on the cinematography and the images of San Francisco in particular. They felt a lot of the exteriors of San Francisco, like, it wasn't like pretty cinematography like we talked about in Comet, but it was fitting cinematography, and they thought it had its own kind of aesthetic beauty in its grittiness. And the shots of 70 San Francisco were really appealing to them. And we go all around the city. There's a whole foot chase in the middle of the movie, and that was a big takeaway.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking as I was watching it this time around that San Francisco character in this movie as anything else. And it also fits in line with what we talked about last week with Vertigo, where San Francisco was, again, a really large part of a lot of things that were happening in Vertigo. It was interesting to see the comparison between these two different sort of takes on the same environment. Because, the San Francisco that was portrayed in Dirty Harry was one that was definitely about sociological change. There was a lot of commentary on homosexual activity. There was a lot of commentary on sort of like, hippie new wave stuff. There was a lot of commentary on just a progressive sense in the city that Dirty Harry himself doesn't necessarily feel completely at home with. So I thought it was actually really fascinating to see how they kind of, churned the environment into being a little bit more, worn at the edges, a little more moody, a little more, I don't know, sort of like a giant playground where bad things can happen almost in a way.
Davey Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I wanted to. I didn't know how much I should get into the look of the movie because I didn't know how much of it was just because I had seen Vertigo so recently, and I was noticing a lot of the same things, a lot of the same just being taken with the city and the cinematography. It's definitely I think J Money's right on the button with the city as a character in this movie, a lot more so than Vertigo was.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that, I mean, Vertigo and Dirty Harry are only 13 years apart.
Yeah,
but how different do they seem?
Right.
Very.
The other thing that I'm going to switch gears a little bit, because just going through my list of the things that came up at our screening, people were really impressed with Andy Robinson, whose only real career was in Don Siegel films. He has a role in Charlie Varick. But he didn't really do much beyond that, and as the villain in Dirty Harry, he is incredibly unique, and very memorable, and sort of a new take on this serial killer concept, or not new to the time certainly, but I mean it still feels fresh and different, more than anything else in the movie. Like it is really interesting to watch his performance now. 44 years later.
Yeah, I think that he's authentically weird. I think there's a lot of interesting things that are happening in this movie that make you feel uncomfortable, and I think his performance is number one. I mean, I think even when I was much younger watching the movie, the things I remember about it now are his performance more so than even the Eastwood's. I mean, I remember some of the iconic scenes that he's in, but his performance, like Andy, what's his last name again?
Robinson.
Andy Robinson's performance, I think it authentically freaked me out when I was younger, and it was interesting to watch it now, even more so because I just really respect what he did. I really. It
authentically freaked me out now, and I mean, like, the choices are unique. Like, I don't know if any other actor would go balls to the wall the way he did.
Yeah.
Davey Joe.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You
didn't like him?
Not really. No.
But did you not like him because you felt uncomfortable?
You know what it is, though? Here's the thing.
It was an over-the-top situation?
It was over the top, but it was over the top, and I don't want to criticize it because I like the idea that he just went and did something nuts and was different, and so it didn't land for me. I respect it. I respect it. I don't know. It seemed a little. Some of it's cliched when he's screaming, "I have rights."
Did you not believe that he was a character?
No, I did not believe him. I did not believe him.
That's the problem, because I did. Because there were unique choices, but they all seemed like grounded in something to me. And I guess to J Money as well.
Yeah. I mean, he is over the top, but I guess the other thing, Davey Joe, is that it feels like are you feeling like it was cliched compared to other things you've seen now? Because I didn't feel like he was that wasn't really a common take on a villain at that point, I think.
No, you know what it was? It's the heavy-handedness, and maybe I'm blaming him for stuff that's not his fault, stuff in the script. But when they're pushing the whole legal system, technicalities thing where he's screaming, "I have rights, I want an attorney." It just seemed, I don't know, it just seemed a little heavy-handed and a little too direct with the point, to the point where it took me out of it a little bit.
Interesting. Is that because you feel like you're so close to the law already that you understand why it doesn't seem realistic?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seemed like there was definite agenda there. And it's cool. I don't have a problem with the agenda so much as you just gotta kind of be a little more subtle with it. To me, I mean, again, I'm complaining about this movie. I like the movie. I remember this is one of the first VHS tapes I bought. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big influence on your childhood.
Yeah, because the box was so cool. I don't know if you remember the red box.
Interestingly enough, Andy Robinson was a pacifist, and he had a real hard time anytime he had to hold a gun. And he would literally vomit after takes because he felt so strongly about the gun thing. So a little interesting behind the scenes tidbit for y'all. But yeah, I mean, I see your point, and I mean we have a lot of viewers right now, and if you guys were at that screening, let me know if you feel differently. But I feel like all our viewers were on board because I thought it would be just me that liked his performance, but everybody in our room, as I recall, was fans of him, and they were just like, it's creepy, he's weird, freaked me out, and it works. And I think I admire it more because he does everything I don't expect him to, because I expect, the sort of subtlety of a Hannibal Lecter, you know what I mean? Subtlety, smoothness of a Hannibal Lecter type, and instead I get this, and it felt different even today. Maybe because we're used to that subtle thing, it felt different and fresh somehow. The only thing that felt fresh in this movie.
He shows vulnerability, which is kind of weird. You get the impression that he's not necessarily aware of what he's doing himself, which I really kind of appreciated. It felt like he was on the fringes of his own, sort of sanity, and it didn't. I mean, I understand what I guess to Davey Joe's point. He's an outsized character. It's over the top. He's kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways, but I think at the end result is that he is authentically creepy. He's an authentically creepy guy in this movie. Not just because of his performance, also his physical appearance. I think that he was really probably cast very well for this. He just had.
Yeah, and it was like a random casting too. I think it might have been Eastwood's idea. He saw him randomly in a play in San Francisco and was like, "That's the guy."
Oh wow, really?
Sort of plucked him from obscurity.
Interesting, because I mean, I do believe that his appearance and his stature and everything else really did play a part in this. He looks a little off for some reason. He looks a little, you don't know what to make of this guy.
I will give him credit that he's one of the better Don Siegel villains in the Don Siegel canon. So with that in mind, and I know there were some things that Davey wanted to talk about as far as the movie is concerned, but just to wrap up what the group was reacting to, because I talked early on about how this movie is controversial, and one of the trivia questions was going to be, and I can ask you guys to answer it later on, is that this movie was passed on by 7 much bigger stars than Clint Eastwood, who all passed on it feeling it was too right-wing. And my audience, and they said, and one actor recommended Clint Eastwood, saying he's actually kind of right-wing guy, so he'll dig it. But the audience that came to our screening, they were like, what's right-wing about that? So the politics of it. What do you guys feel about this movie? Is it conservative?
I'm going to pass to Davey Joe first.
I was going to ask Davey Joe about the legality later, but I mean...
Oh, okay, well,
But I mean, like, if that bleeds into it, then that's fine.
No, I think that there's definitely a crime and punishment element that I think a lot of people kind of identify more right than left. And to that aspect, I think it may play to the right, a little easier.
Why? What about this makes what about this makes it a right-wing film?
Well, the right wing is tough. That's why I wouldn't go that far. I think that to the extent that it's a movie that deals in crime and punishment and sort of addresses civil liberties as being a hindrance to justice, which they are. There's give and take in the system, but if you're going to express it from that side, from that point of view, I think it's going to appeal more to people who look to politicize film. It's going to appeal more to people on the right, but I don't think most people do that. So I don't know that it's as big a deal as maybe those people that turned down the role thought it was.
Interesting.
What do you think, my man?
Well, I guess I feel like it does, to me, it falls on the right, but I guess, compared to our sort of current environment, which is so much more vitriolic, it's not necessarily a very strong right-wing movie. I think there's a lot of, sort of criticism of bureaucracy in general, of big government, maybe you could put it that way. There's certainly a lot of fetishization of guns, so there's a question of personal arming. There's certainly a question about, what is right versus what is the process. But what's interesting is that this time around, for me, especially watching this movie, I was left wondering if Dirty Harry was a hero or he's actually an anti-hero, because there were more things I picked up this time around about him being kind of sad and depressed about the situation as opposed to being celebratory of the situation. And I think that might make kind of some of the difference for me in terms of where this movie falls on the political spectrum.
And as the series goes on, because obviously there are sequels, he becomes more and more violent and more comfortable in his role as the Punisher, if you will.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I feel like, those are sequels. It's sort of like the Rambo thing. The first Rambo had a lot more to say than the other ones did. It feels like to me there's a tragic quality to this character, Dirty Harry, which, when that exists, to me, that takes it outside the realm of just pure heroism. It takes it outside the realm of celebrating a character for being brash and for being for being independent, if you will.
Pretend like this movie never came out. How would this movie play today?
Today?
Yeah, how would this movie, if it came out before? How would this movie play today?
If it wasn't, if Eastwood wasn't connected to it.
What's that?
If Eastwood wasn't connected to it, because I mean,
if someone else was in it, but I mean, like, I'm talking about the themes and the message. Like, would it?
Well,
as controversial, or would it be mild, or?
I think you can draw some comparisons between this and American Sniper, even if you want to. I think you can talk about somebody's a solo actor in a violent situation,
which was a highly controversial film.
Which was a highly controversial film, exactly. So I think there are similarities between the idea of Dirty Harry and the idea of the main character.
And who directed American Sniper, J Money?
Exactly. Well, my point is that I think that regardless, this movie might be considered, it would still sort of fall to me in the right wing category. I don't think that Dirty Harry, especially in this presentation now, is an exceptionally right-wing movie. I mean, I think that there's probably a lot of people on that side of the fence who probably point to it and say, yeah, that's one of our classics. But I also think that it's actually a little bit more complex than just saying right or left. I think that there's more complexity to this character than just saying he was a guy who had a big gun who thought that he had the right of way.
Which is an improvement upon the movie, for sure. Do you guys want a policeman like Dirty Harry on the streets?
That's a good question.
Thank you. Can you answer it?
No, I can't. I mean, I guess, no, I guess. No is the answer.
J Money?
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I don't like half the police that are out there already. So, to me, there's a lot of things that are wrong about this character, but I also, again, I guess I feel like this movie had other things to say about Dirty Harry other than the fact that he was just an enforcer. Like, he does talk about at some point, he does question his own role in the situation. He does question why he's even doing it. He questions how he feels about doing it. And at the end of the movie, without giving any spoilers away, he sort of has this moment of clarity, I suppose, where he sort of, changes his role.
We have a few minutes left before we get to the bracket. I have one thing I want to talk about. And I want to ask Davey Joe about the legality. So I'm going to assume, Davey Joe, your thing's going to be short. What do you have to say from a lawyer point of view?
All right. Well, first of all, I think that the search of his place at the stadium was legal. I think that there's an exigency with the kid.
It was legal.
I think it was, yeah. I think because there's an exigency, a kid is losing oxygen, they don't have to wait for a warrant in that time. Obviously, you can't torture a person to get their statement, so that would not be admissible. But the ridiculous part of this movie is the DA is like, oh yeah, I was reading your report. Like, he'd say in his report, I tortured this guy, and then he told me where she lived, where she was. I mean, that's not what the report would say. There was nobody else there. He would write, I said, you're under arrest, you have the right to remain silent, blah, blah, blah. Where's the girl? Oh, that's where the girl is. So that whole scene is awful. I mean, it's absurd. No one
now,
writes...
Is it possible the statutes were different in 1971?
No, because he cites Miranda in the in his diatribe, the DA. But my point is that
what word did you use just now, Davey Joe?
Miranda?
No, diatribe. Never mind.
Oh, diatribe. Yeah.
Davey's diatribe coming up later in just 15 minutes or so. Shameless plug.
Yeah, but
the other topic I wanted to talk about that I feel like this movie does not get enough credit for is its unusual and outstanding score.
Oh, yeah.
Lalo Schifrin, best known for the Mission Impossible theme, Lalo Schifrin. And he's a jazz artist, ultimately, that occasionally did movie scores, and like Mission Impossible theme. But the score, and he did a lot of Don Siegel films. This is some great work, I think, and gives a whole terrific, edgy feel to this movie.
Yeah.
He was an incredible piano player and did some great stuff with Dizzy Gillespie.
Look at Davey Joe with some tidbits.
He knows. Davey Joe knows his jazz. I'll give him. He knows that better than anyone else I know. So
you were a fan of the score as well?
Yeah, and it's funny because again, I remember when I was younger watching it, I thought the score, like I completely didn't get the score. To me, it stuck out because it felt so weird and different for what I expected the movie to be. And this time around, I loved it. Like this time around, I was like, yeah, this is perfect.
It fits so nicely the early '70s vibe.
Yeah. Well, I think.
I was actually asking Davey Joe. So you as a jazz fan, you like this? Do you like this?
Oh yeah. I mean, Schifrin's amazing. He's great.
I feel like at this point, I like the movie least of the three of us. Is that the fair assessment?
It's possible.
Maybe.
I mean, like, I think we all said it's good but not great. Does that sum it up?
Yeah. How many candles would you give it, JB?
Ooh.
You're giving away everything. What is wrong with you? You have all these viewers now too, so I don't know. Like,
the only way
nothing sacred.
That's the only way I can talk about movies anymore is the candle system. If you guys talk about anything else, I don't understand. So
I might give it a half candle less than you.
That's fair. That's fair.
Davey Joe, where are you? Somewhere in between?
Is this a 3-candle scale?
Seems that way.
Well, I broke
but apparently there's thirds and quarters of the candle.
I broke out 5 candles for Vertigo, by the way. Just putting that out there.
Oh, okay. So 5 out of 5, I go 3.5.
Wow.
So he likes it the most.
Damn.
So the real quick before our time's up, before we move to the showdown, I wanted to ask the trivia question that I was going to see if you guys were curious. The 7 guys that turned it down. Do you want to take some guesses here? Who these 7 guys were?
John Wayne.
John Wayne is one. Did you look this up?
No, I'm just guessing at this point.
I'm suspicious. John Wayne was offered it first, actually.
That makes sense. It just seems like a John Wayne movie, honestly. It just seems like his kind of character.
How can something be too right with John Wayne?
I don't know. So who else?
I don't know.
Lots of other big actors.
Ah,
No.
Time's running out.
just tell us.
You guys are no fun. You don't want to like take. Davy Joe didn't even guess one. Just
No,
throw out a
just-
name.
Just-
All of them were older. All of them were older than Clint Eastwood. Like they're closer to John Wayne's age.
Lee Marvin.
Did you say Dean Martin?
Lee Marvin.
Oh, Lee Marvin. No.
Is it Dean Martin?
Yep. No, it was not Dean Martin.
Is it
But Robert Mitchum.
Gregory Peck?
Robert Mitchum.
Robert Mitchum.
Burt Lancaster.
Burt Lancaster.
Frank Sinatra.
Uh-huh.
Steve McQueen. Marlon Brando. And eventually it was Paul Newman that recommended Eastwood for the role after he turned it down.
Frank Sinatra? What the fuck, man? Come on, are you kidding me? That's
Frank
ridiculous.
Sinatra's an Oscar-winning actor, my man.
Yeah, but do you see him in this role? No.
No, but I also didn't see him in Von Ryan's Express, and he did fine in that.
Yeah, fine.
I also didn't see him in The Man with Golden Gun, and he did okay in that. Not super good, but not awful either.
Sinatra plays Sinatra. He's Sinatra. I don't know.
Maybe not in The Man with the Golden Gun. It's funny. You know who Sinatra's acting teacher was?
Who?
Boris Karloff.
Really?
That's who he modeled himself after.
Okay.
Fun little tidbits here.
Facts.
All right. Time now for our classic movie showdown. So this one's going to be crazy interesting. So I can see. Look how excited. Look how excited my man is right now. You can hardly contain yourself.
Oh my God.
You're the one that always knows the winner in advance. So,
That's true.
But Davy Joe does not know. So
David does not know.
it should be interesting. Before I do that, let's go over the rules one more time for our new viewers. So for the Classic Movie Showdown, voters must see both films within a 12-month period in my presence at hosted screenings by me. All films that I host will be 15 years or older that are eligible. So obviously this qualifies, and the seating criteria varies from bracket to bracket. Tonight's film will be in the 70s bracket. I am, of course, ineligible to vote, and this week it was Dirty Harry was a 14 seed in the 70s bracket, going up against Star Wars. And on this video, the writing seems off. Does it look okay to you guys, the writing, or does it seem pixelated?
Yeah, it's weird.
It does seem all screwed up. Yeah, I'll have to check into that.
Yep, we blame Jay Money for that. He's our graphic artist, so you failed. You failed us, sir. What it says is Star Wars versus Dirty Harry. Interestingly, so we screened Star Wars in July of 2014. So July 2014, June 2015, within a 12-month period, eligible to vote. Strangely enough, and I was nervous about screening Star Wars because I figured everybody had seen it, and they were expecting something they hadn't seen much of. Turned out to be a great screening and a great discussion. Two people that attended the screening had never seen before. Can you believe that?
Were they girls?
They were not girls, both men, but albeit gay men. I don't know how much that matters, but it's just the way it was. And the people that had not seen it before, they hated it. They hated Star Wars. So really interesting. But regardless, are you guys Star Wars fans?
Yeah.
Yeah. So which version did you show?
I showed the original.
Do you have it on VHS or something?
He knows a guy.
I did, but I think I showed a DVD version.
I thought all the DVD versions were the re-release that Lucas did with the embellishments.
I don't think so, but it was in last July, so over a year now. So I don't remember. I don't remember feeling like, oh, that's added.
Okay.
But I don't think that extra Jabba scene was in it.
Okay, well that would be a telltale sign, definitely. So.
Who shot first?
What's that?
Who shot first?
I don't understand.
Did
Oh,
Han
Greedo
shoot
or
first?
Han? Oh, yeah. I don't remember that level of detail, but I do remember I took notes of the screening, and the new people, they were bored. They thought the acting was terrible, the characters were uninteresting, and they were very confused. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective, that both people that hadn't seen it before were just lost.
Yeah.
Everyone else in the room was like a kid again.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. And things that we talked about in the screening that we remarked on were the pace and the scope and the legacy. And it felt like a really important movie. And the pacing is really well done. The editing and the pacing and everything. It is even today, and like films like Dirty Harry seem slow, and like it's not uncommon for these films to seem slow, but Star Wars didn't. Star Wars felt still, like a regular modern movie pace, almost as if it invented a modern movie pace. So it was interesting to revisit it. And the other thing that people talked about, and I guess that I covered this when I talked about the scope, is the breadth of detail, like in creating this world that George Lucas created. I mean, we talked about it a little bit with Home. If Home only was like better script, but the imagination of and all the details that went into making Star Wars, everything connected with everything else in a way that felt real. I think a big difference is they using models versus CGI.
Right.
But that's another discussion altogether.
Right.
So you guys like Star Wars? I mean, based on what they were saying at the screening, how do you guys respond to that? Joe?
No. I don't know how they could how people could be confused or lost. I think if it's not your thing, you're just not gonna hold your attention. Maybe you're gonna be a little I don't know, lost, I guess. I don't know. As far as being a kid again, yeah, it's a movie that takes you back, and it's a great.
Is it only a quality movie because of the nostalgia factor?
No, it's a quality movie because it's a quality movie. It's everything. It's the pacing, it's the story, and it's I think the performances are fun. I mean, they're all unique characters. I don't think that.
I admit Mark Hamill struggles a little bit. Harrison Ford is awesome, but Mark Hamill struggles. Jay Money, what do you think?
I mean, I wish I could answer the question, but it's really hard at this point. It's like I'm willing to give them, the people that didn't like it, the benefit of the doubt, just because there's no way I can really assess it anymore. This is a movie that was imprinted on me in a way that, like so many other people I know in our peer group, that I just don't. There's no way I can have an objective opinion about this movie. It's a movie that was my childhood in a lot of ways. There are certain cornerstones of pop culture in my childhood, and there's not a lot of them. So any of them that are pretty significant.
I think it's a movie too that almost taught us storytelling. In a way, like. Absolutely.
I mean, there are so many things about it that I will just take for granted. Yeah. And I understand, like, watching it now as years later, yeah, the script is questionable. The acting, some of it is pretty bad. The story itself could be kind of ridiculous. It's just there's no way I can separate myself from being within that universe anymore. There's no way I can completely distance myself. I mean, I reached a point after the new releases from Lucas, episodes 1 through 3, where I just kind of stopped caring about the franchise in general. But it doesn't destroy how I feel about Star Wars. It doesn't destroy how I feel about the first 3 that we were exposed to. So if you didn't like it when you were a kid, you're not going to like it now. If you never saw it when you were a kid, I don't know if you're going to like it now. But there's no way that I could really blame anyone one way or the other. It's something that exists. It supersedes the idea of liking it or disliking it.
Well, you do have to assess it now.
I know. I like it. But the thing is, what I'm saying is that it is such a basic component of life at this point that
I understand it, but we have to assess it in comparison to Dirty Harry for the 70s bracket. And for what it's worth, the graphic is much better now. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And I want to invite our viewers. We have a bunch of viewers right now, which I'm very excited about. And I want to invite you guys to also opine on this, leave comments either on Facebook or on the YouTube page. I've got it up, so I'll check on the comments before we close out. So feel free to opine either about Star Wars or Dirty Harry. So you guys, this is the matchup. 3-14. Obviously, Star Wars is a 3 seed, is a highest grossing film of the decade, and a Best Picture nominee. So famously losing to Annie Hall. but right now it's up against 14 seed Dirty Harry. Davey Joe, what would you pick?
Star Wars.
J Money.
Star Wars.
Why?
For me, it's a much more universal movie. It's a movie that has a lot more appeal to it. It's much more acceptable. I think it probably stands up better to repeated viewings, although I'm obviously biased about that because I've certainly seen it a lot more than I've seen Dirty Harry. I think there's a majesty to the franchise, which obviously continues to this day. I mean, as much as people bemoan what happened with episodes 1 through 3 with releases earlier in the in the 2000s, there's a reason everyone's super excited right now for the new stuff coming out. And to be fair, the new stuff does look pretty good. I'm ready to be excited about the franchise again. And I think that there's a kernel in the first movies that we all grew up with that's still there. It's still relevant for us to be excited about.
Well, it was also a unanimous decision in our group. Star Wars easily moved on to Dirty Harry. Like I said, our group had mixed reactions to Dirty Harry. And like I said before, there's better films by Don Siegel even. And I have a quick shot of Mr. Siegel right here with his favorite actor on the set of Dirty Harry. But they would make 5 films together, 6 if you include Play Misty for Me, where they switched roles. So yeah, it is. So Dirty Harry is eliminated from the 70s bracket. Star Wars moves on, and this one wasn't as difficult as some of the other ones that we've done, for better or for worse. But I do have a fun sort of discussion for this evening, assuming I can find what's going on. Yeah, okay. So I wanted to ask mainly J Money. Not J Money. I wanted to ask Davey Joe. J Money, he doesn't know this is coming up, right?
I know. I don't think so.
This is fun.
So we want to find out who would win in a fight.
Okay.
We know that Star Wars beats Dirty Harry in the films. Han Solo versus Dirty Harry, the Showdown. And if the viewers have anything to say on this, I would love to hear it. So.
All right. Today. I have
what's
questions.
that?
I have questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Are they using weapons?
I think that they would need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, are they using the respective weapons, or I mean?
Yeah, I think they would need to.
I think you have to assume, David Joe, that they're both masters of their respective weapons, though.
I feel like Han Solo's got a better weapon.
I don't think you can pick based on who has the better weapon. I don't think that's fair. Because
that's what I'm saying. Is maybe we
that's
should.
Why he asked the question.
Yeah. maybe this should be like a fist fight.
I think it's a technicality if you pick the weapon. I think it's about who is better at using the weapon.
I think you gotta go. I think you gotta go with Han. I think you gotta go with Han. I mean, he basically he had a shootout with Greedo, and they're sitting at a. I don't want to open that whole can of worms. I know that we could probably spend time on that, but I'm gonna go with Han. He's a faster draw. Interesting.
Yeah, he's smoother in a way, whereas Dirty Harry's more of a blunt object. It's sort of like comparing the Daniel Craig James Bond to the Roger Moore James Bond in a way. Where do you land on this? J Money.
I go Dirty Harry on this, actually. I go Dirty Harry on this because we know that he can take a shot. We've seen him get injured. So I feel like he could take it, and he would still keep going.
Can he take a laser shot?
I think he could. I think Dirty Harry could take a laser blast. In the leg or the arm or the shoulder, perhaps. But he takes a beating regardless, and he keeps moving. Because I think at the core of Dirty Harry is this desperate sadness, and that's why he's the ultimate killer. I think that Han Solo is too much of a humanist at the end of the day.
He's a softie. He's a softie, whereas Dirty Harry gets crustier as he gets older.
I think that Dirty Harry is just sort of an empty shell for depression. And I think
I'm trying to figure out why they'd be fighting. I guess Dirty Harry would be trying to catch a smuggler type thing.
There you go. That's good. Yeah, I like that idea.
Does that give Dirty Harry more of an advantage since he's the cat and Han Solo's the mouse in that scenario?
Well, which level of Dirty Harry are we talking about? Is it past the first movie?
No, it's 71 Dirty Harry.
71 Dirty Harry? Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I guess he has the right of way in that situation. He has the law on his side. Because Han is definitely, a nerve herder. So You can't trust him.
You gotta give your opinion on this also.
So viewers, please feel free to write in on that. That's probably going to be our most popular segment going forward. So anyway, with that in mind, it's time for the closing segment of the night. Daveys Diatribe, y'all, and it's about to start right now. Davey, take it away.
So I've been kind of busy. Haven't seen it as much lately, but I did do 3 summer action movies in a row of Jurassic World, Ant-Man, and Mission Impossible. You mentioned JB mentioned Ant-Man. Ant-Man is good. Ant-Man's worth checking out. Paul Rudd is funny. It's a funny movie, and it's good because the scale of this movie is kept in check. It doesn't get too big for its own good. It's a heist movie. It's good, and if you're gonna see any of the 3 of those, I liked all 3 of them honestly, but Ant-Man's the one you wanna check out there. Two shows I've been watching. I've been watching Daredevil on Netflix. I'm almost done with that. Definitely check that out. Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. It's a good time. And American Crime. If you go to a lot of movies, it's a movie that they were pushing in that first look thing for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I learned about it, and I just tore through that on Hulu. And it's a show that got a lot of critical acclaim, but one that nobody watched. So everyone just thought it was going to get canceled, but they picked it up for another season. So.
Oh, did they? That's good. Because I heard a lot of good reviews about it, but like you're saying, I totally forgot it existed until you just brought it up right now.
Oh yeah, nobody watched it. Go ahead.
Is it totally on Hulu? Is all of it on Hulu?
I think the whole thing's on Hulu.
Okay, that's cool.
I was watching them as they came, but I would watch them immediately. But yeah, dude, check it out. Check it out.
Definitely check it out. I started Daredevil as well. I watched the first 2 episodes and I thought, yeah, it's okay. It just didn't quite grab me yet. So I'll give it more chance.
Had Kingpin showed up yet?
No. So, or at least not where I am in it. So maybe that's part of it.
Hang in there.
Daredevil. It's like we're talking about these ridiculous scenarios today with Fantastic Four and everything else. But Daredevil is one of those movies or one of those premises where again I have a hard time with it just because I'm like that seems so far-fetched in so many ways.
It definitely is. It definitely is. But Kingpin, Vincent D'Onofrio, it's good.
Yeah, sure. I'd go for Vincent D'Onofrio, definitely.
What do you got? You got anything?
I'm trying to remember what I've seen recently. Oh, I watched a movie on Netflix recently called Monsters, I believe, which was an indie film about sort of an alien monster invasion that happens, and it's very cinema verite. It's very much about these 2 characters who are surviving the invasion in a realistic setting and sort of making their way out of an infested area. It's on Netflix. It's streaming. It actually was pretty enjoyable. That's where I'll leave it at in case we ever actually end up talking about it a little bit more.
Okay.
The other thing that I would say is I'll circle back to Jurassic World with you for a second because I also happened to see Jurassic World, and I thought it was terrible.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
I just thought it was such a contrived, ridiculous mess. I left it feeling cheated out of the money I spent on that movie. And I like Chris Pratt a lot. I mean, I was ready to be on board with this movie, but not do it.
It's funny because I think contrived and ridiculous are fair, but I liked it nonetheless.
Also, I mean, I guess I've gotten really soft at my age because I thought the violence in it was like just unnecessary. I don't know.
Unnecessary violence with the dinosaurs.
I thought there was way too much. There was way too much like violent death. I don't know. Especially. I mean, I think that I maybe I was hoping for a return to form for the first one, which was ultimately kind of innocent. It was really a movie about gawking at special effects. There were some like special, almost gotcha moments. They kill a lawyer, and no offense, nobody's going to be sad about that idea.
Yeah.
It was a relatively innocent movie, where this one was just about people getting torn to shreds. And I don't know, there was something about that felt really uncomfortable to me.
Well, they cut to the chase, man. That's what so good about it.
Well, that's true. They don't waste a lot of time on it. So, yeah.
All right, so sorry, did you else or?
I think of anything else I've seen recently. I will plug Julie Klausner's new show on Hulu, Difficult People. Her and Billy Eichner are in this new series, and if you like people saying funny but cruel things, it's a pretty satisfying show from that point of view.
Okay, I'll check that out. Hey, one thing I wanted to say before we run out of time here is, if you're watching this now, definitely check out our other clips, and if you got something to say, leave a comment in the YouTube page. We'd love to see those.
Tell
Anyway,
us how stupid we are. Tell us.
Yeah, definitely. Come after me personally. Whatever it takes.
Awful mean things about us. Say it. Say it all. We can take it.
That's it. All right. So, JB, without further ado, take it away, man.
And that was, ladies and gentlemen, Daveys Diatribe. Right here, right now, August the 18th, 2015. You heard it here first. And how you doing? I'm back. Hope you enjoyed that lovely little segment. And next week, we start, not next week, we're hoping for August 31st. Don't put it in pencil in your calendars. And we're going to talk about the Zac Efron EDM movie called We're Your Friends. That's what we're going to kick off the evening with. Probably 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, gentlemen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Maybe silently nodding. And
yes.
our indie in a couple weeks is a movie recommended by Davey Joe. It came out last year, I think, didn't it? One-word title, which we'll tell you. We'll give you clues over the course of the next 2 weeks. I think it came out last year. It's coming in my Netflix, so I actually haven't watched it yet. But a 2014 Davey Joe recommendation is our indie for next time. And our classic for next time is a film from the 40s that was remade into a musical in 1956 with songs by Cole Porter. That's your tidbit. So you can guess over the course of the week, and we'll put that in graphic format coming up soon. So you guys, I mean, you guys have just like talked for the last 10 minutes, so I don't imagine you have any closing thoughts.
I'm good.
No.
You doing good?
I'm spent.
11:24. Night is young. I don't need to get up at 3 a.m. anymore. J Money, let's meet in Brooklyn and go clubbing.
Yeah, let's go out. Let's go drinking.
I want to say to our viewers, thank you very much. And I was also going to say, feel free to comment on our stuff, but Davey Joe beat me to it. Thanks for watching us live. It's fun. We love and we'd love to get more interaction from you guys as well. But it's good to know we see that you're watching, and it's good to know that you're watching. And I want to say hi to my friends in LA. I do have one little tidbit that I want to share. This just in, while you guys were talking, I found on my Facebook page at this moment, while I'm here in New York, Justin Bieber is in front of my apartment shooting a music video in LA.
Wow.
Get out there, man.
This just revealed to me on Facebook by my next door neighbor. So maybe there'll be pictures to show for next time.
Get out there and give them your card.
Your neighbor should be watching this. You shouldn't be watching that video.
Anyway, so all my friends in LA, maybe, walk down the street. Many of you live very close, so walk down the street, check out the Biebs. Anyway, thank you for watching this little discussion of Dirty Harry and, of course, Star Wars. We have some more classic indie and current movie discussion coming up at the end of August. Or maybe early September, but August 31st. August 31st is our hope. Maybe we'll eventually get ourselves on a date that we promise. It'll be like first time for everything. Anyway, good night, everybody. Good night, J Money. Have a good couple weeks.
You too.
Davey Joe,
Night.
farewell, my man. And the rest of you, thanks again, and may the force be with you.